Page 26, Serenade. On the previous pages, they're giving you a little bit more about music theory. I'll just briefly cover it. Now, I don't know that this stuff's really going to help you much, but if you happen to be talking to somebody and they're talking musical terms and things, they may throw these out at you, and at least you'll have some idea of what they might be talking about. You've heard them before. Remember before we covered the tonic and the immediate and all that stuff, so in a C major scale, let's just use that for example. You have the tonic, remember that? You have the dominant, which is the fifth. In between those, you have the median, it's in the middle, between those. We've also had the subdominant, that was the fourth. And we've had the submediant, which is here. The submediant is between the subdominant and the tonic. You can make sense out of that on your own. I ain't going to get into it. It made sense to somebody in a padded room sometimes. Okay. Well, here they're adding the other notes. So you have the supertonic here. If that's tonic, go up one for supertonic. Simple enough. And the other one is the leading tone because it leads into or resolves to the tonic. Not all the time, but that's the idea. Go to here is this leading tone. So we should have them all. Tonic, supertonic, median, subdominant, dominant, submedian, leading tone, tonic. I learned all that back in college and music theory a million years ago. I've never used it since, except occasionally when I'm reading about something and they mention these words. And that way I know what they're talking about. I don't really know what good it's going to do you, but they're presenting it, so I covered it. Yay, team. Then they give you some other things about writing them and all that junk. You can read that. Now, they also on page 22 cover these scale degrees. I call them steps. I don't call them degrees. Call them what you want. Each note in a scale is numbered. They're 1 through 7. There's no biggie because we got the 1, 4, and the 5, 7 chords, and the 1, 4, and 5 chords. That's because of the step they're built on. Okay, so much for that. Then they talk about scale the ladders. Well, that's some sort of a game they put in there. It has absolutely nothing to do with me. I'm skipping that. You can have fun scaling the ladders on your own. Then on page 24, they talk about Alberti bass. Now this is kind of important because it's a very common pattern. Just learn the pattern. That's about all you need to know. It's simply taking a triad and it's playing the notes, broken chords in a particular pattern, sequence. Bottom, top, middle, top. That's it. So, doesn't matter where they are on the keyboard. That's the pattern. They're using that here. Then a 4 chord, 5, 7 chord. They give you an Alberti bass in 3/4 time because what I'm showing you is more like a 2/4 or 4/4 time. It's a I haven't run across that very often, but the regular Alberti bass, a lot. Learn it in both hands. Now you may think, the thumb gets overworked here because it's got extra to do. But I'm just rolling, I'm rotating, and I think you'll find once you learn it, the thumb really doesn't seem to mind. I'm dropping the wrist on the beat, blah, 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 blah. And then the right hand, because you need to do it in both hands. It's the little finger that gets worked. Again, I'm just rotating, drop the wrist on the beat. The little finger doesn't seem to mind as long as you're doing the rotating, not trying to just use the fingers, because that doesn't work very well. You don't have to go fast. Learn it slow, learn it good, but there will be times when you will need to play it fast eventually. And then on page 25 they cover a little piece there with it. I'm going to skip that. You can do that on your own. Let's go on to Serenade. Finally we get to Serenade. A lot of eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a little bit of 16th note sprinkled in here and there. Like at the beginning, 1 eanda, 2 eanda. Now you're coming in on beat 4, so it's 4 eanda. 4 eanda, 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 3 eanda. So second line, first two measures, look at this. You got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 eanda, 1 eanda. 4 eanda, 1 eanda, 2 eanda. Just, yeah. Follow their fingering, it's fine. Third line, last two measures in the right hand, they put slurs over the first two notes. So go ahead and slightly separate the other notes. There's no point in putting slurs over the first two notes if you don't separate the other two notes, because you're just going to do them all legato. And what's the point in a slur if you're going to do everything legato? So separate the other notes in this particular measure. And any other measure that does this, you get it again. Maybe the notes are different, but you get the idea. Is two slurs and then not slurs, separate the not slurs. Right hand's going to move around a lot. I don't feel I really need to point all that out. Go to the bottom of page 27, the last line. It starts out with that two slur thing again. Watch the fingering. I disagree with the phrasing on some of this. I would connect the last four notes in the first measure to the second measure. I'd bring it all in. Next to the last measure, I would slur that whole measure. I wouldn't separate that. No. There's a finger substitution. You can do that. Play it with the second finger and then put the thumb on it. Yeah. No big deal, I hope. In the left hand, you got the arpeggio bass going pretty much. Keep it light because all the fun stuff is in the right hand. That's what we want to hear. One minor little thing in the left hand I want to point out. Look at the last measure on page 26. They're saying 5-3 and then the F. This is a chord. That's the fingering for the chord. We're just not using the D. So I recommend a 5-4 on the GB and then a 5-3 on the GC. It's up to you, or you can do a 5-3 on the first one and then a 5-2 if you want. Experiment with the fingering right there, because it needs to be connected legato and it needs to be soft and all that junk, you know. They have a little bit of pedal at the bottom of page 26. I disagree. I'm going to leave it out. I'm not using it anywhere else. I see no point in using it here. They have a little bit of pedal at the end on the last note. Again, I disagree. I'm going to leave it out. I see no point in putting the pedal down there. If anything, I want to die away. And the pedal is going to add all these overtones and harmonics, those other vibrations. I don't want those added in at the end when I'm dying away. We'll go over this phrasing because that really helps to make it. They don't give you a lot in dynamics. But we can do a little bit with it and the phrasing. So at the beginning you have here, now lift up between each phrase. Lift up. Second measure, second line. I'll leave that up to you. You can connect the whole measure with a phrase, or you can play that one note that's not in a phrase disconnected. So if I play the whole measure as a phrase, it's this way. Or if I play that note disconnected, that E, it's this way. That's an interpretive thing. I'll leave that up to you as which way you're going. Now take a look at the third line. Again, the phrasing. I'm guessing one of the reasons they want the pedal is to help the right hand play legato, because you have this nasty leap from this G to this G. If you can reach it with your hand, do so. If you can't, then you got to move down. Just if you have to reach down, make that break as short as possible. So, according to the slurring, you don't have to connect the G to the half note, because the slur doesn't go all the way to the half note. It stops there. So you can separate that. I don't like that. I would prefer it be all slurred and connected. But again, I'll leave that up to you as to which way you go. Then going on to the last measure, 2-note slurs, just up and down, up and down. Ba-ba-dum. You see that? Yeah. I wouldn't connect all three of them. Because you could, but I wouldn't. And then going on to page 27. The same as before. Just follow the slurring and experiment a little bit with it. Learn it the way it's written first, and then you can alter it a little bit if you want to. I don't know how accurate this is to what the manuscript says. This is from a string quartet. It's meant to be played by strings, violins and so forth. So a lot of the slurring that they're marking is probably from the string quartet music. And that's unfortunate, because these slur lines are different. They mean different for a string instrument than they do for a piano. And when people just take string instrument music and then write it for piano and they put in the same slurring, they don't understand the nature of the instruments that are involved, and that's unfortunate. Helps me a little bit because I also play violin, and so I know the difference between the two instruments. But I look at this and I see a lot of these slurs as violin bowings. They tell you when to down bow and up bow and when to change the bow. Not a slur like on a piano. So I disagree with some of their slur markings as far as the piano playing. You see, a violin can change bowing, up direction on a bow, without any silence. It can connect the notes very nicely. Well, with a piano, we like a little silence between them. Now, two completely different interpretations of the same markings in the music. So I'll leave the slurring up to you. I'm going to play this slowly. I don't want to perform it again. I don't want to encourage you to copy me, but I at least give you an idea. If you want to play along, go ahead, because I am going to go slow here. It goes faster than what I'm going to take it, is what I'm saying. I'm going to give me 3 counts. I'm going to come in. If you want to play along, go ahead. Hands. I am not using pedal on this. So 1, ready, go, and...